Well, good afternoon. We'll have try and begin our class today. Am I too loud for you in the front? No? Too quiet for you in the back? No? All right, good. Oh, I need to turn you on. The microphone.
Okay, got it?
Yeah.
Am I on? Okay.
Wonderful. Well, I want to welcome you to our gluten-free cooking class. And I'm going to stand back a little bit. Hopefully that doesn't get too loud on us. We're excited to be able to present to you a gluten-free option in cooking. And Valerie and I have gone through quite a bit of experience with this whole issue of being gluten-free, and she's going to share with you a little bit about her testimony. My name is Joel Kratzky. I'm the associate pastor here in Detroit Lakes, and Valerie is my wife. And we're just glad to be able to present to you some options in cooking. Not just gluten-free, but also vegetarian and vegan. And the reason we're presenting vegetarian and vegan to you today is basically there's a couple of reasons. One, and probably the most principal for us, is a principle that we find in Scripture. As a pastor, you know, we look at Bible things and we seek out what God really wants for us. And what I have found and what's really convicted us is where God talks in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 31, where he says, "Whether therefore you eat or you drink, whatsoever you do, do all to the glory of God." And early on in chapter 6, he talks about the fact that my body is not my own. Our bodies are not our own, but we've been bought with a price. And so I should glorify God in my body and treat it as best I can, which means eating as healthy as I can possibly eat. Take care of myself. And of course, I look in the Bible too, and I see God's original plan in the Garden of Eden. When God created Adam and Eve, He made everything perfect. And He made a perfect man and a perfect woman, and He gave them the perfect diet. And in Genesis 1:29, it says that He gave them nuts and fruits and herbs. And there was no meat in the diet. There was no death in Eden. There was no sin, so there was no death. So that was the perfect diet. Now I know since then we've fallen into sin, and God has allowed different things in the diet. He actually allows vegetables, which was later on. We had to go work for them. And He allowed meat after the flood. And so God allowed those things as a secondary type of diet, but His optimum perfect diet for the human race was a vegetarian diet. And so that's why we present the vegetarian aspect. We're hoping that even though you may be, many you eat meat and all that, and you have to make that choice yourself, but we're hoping that as you see these, as you taste these recipes, that you're going to be happy to incorporate more of a plant-based diet into your diet, because it's a benefit for you. And we're going to talk about some of the extreme health benefits that God has placed in the plants that He has given us to eat. And so we're hoping that you're going to be able to do that for us. And secondly, that was the first reason, by the way. That was a short reason. But the second reason we're presenting the vegetarian aspect is I spent many years in the agricultural industry. I was a feed manager and a mill manager, and we made a lot of feed for cattle, and we sold a lot of antibiotics and a lot of hormones, and I saw a lot of what went into the animals that we ended up eating. And I talked to a lot of people who were the inspectors at the butcher plants and all of these different things. And I'll tell you, when you hear the stories and when you see what goes into the animals and you understand how much disease is really in the animals, I'm not talking about the health detriments of eating red meat, which you have an article on, but the diseases that are in the animal population today. The second reason we chose to be a vegetarian is just to kind of avoid some of those things in our diet, because we want to, again, treat our bodies as a temple of the Holy Spirit. And that's why we've chosen that. So again, we're just encouraging you with some vegetarian items today. We're hoping that you're going to enjoy it. And I guess right now I'm going to introduce my wife, Valerie. And this is Valerie. And you and I, really your journey with understanding gluten-free and celiac and all those kind of things have started long before we met. So why don't you share with them a little bit?
This cooking class is a healthy living cooking class. But the reason it's gluten-free is because of the journey that I've gone through. I'm just going to share a little bit of kind of what I had to go through my life until I realized that it was just a simple thing as the gluten in the wheat, barley, and rye that I was eating was making me sick. And it's kind of as a warning to all of you, because wheat is not what it used to be. There's much more gluten content in our wheat. And wheat is in everything. Go to the grocery store, pick up labels, and you're going to find wheat in everything. As long as soy and corn, which also a lot of people are reacting to corn and soy also. It's just an overload. There's also a lot of chemicals and things being used on these products. And what we're going to do in this cooking class is show you some different grains, and more so even next Sunday, I'm going to get into more grains also, because there are alternatives out there, and we need to be using a wide variety. A lot of the other countries out there use different grains. In America, we only hear about wheat. Wheat. You need your whole grain wheat. And we're skipping all the other grains that are so nutritious for us. And I'm just going to tell you, there are so many people that have gone through what I've gone through or are going through it right now, and they don't know what is making them sick. And so that's kind of why we're doing this gluten-free along with healthy living tips.
Can I share with them some of the information that you got when you came in involves some of what Valerie's talking about? You'll have two news articles. One was more red risks, more red meat, more mortality. You can read the latest studies there. And another study that was stapled on the backside of that saying weighing in against modern wheat talks about some of the issues with the modern wheat as versus the wheat that people used to eat many years ago. We also have some information that you received, a sheet that talks about the terms that mean gluten on food labels. For those of you who are celiac or have a gluten intolerance, and there is the similarities, but there's a difference. Celiac is they can identify it in you. Gluten intolerant means they can't identify it, but you have the same symptoms as someone who's celiac. So you have to understand that even though you may not be diagnosed as celiac and yet you're having all the symptoms of a celiac, you still may be gluten intolerant and you still need to address that in your life. But we have the sheet, one of the sheets there talks about the different things on food labels that mean wheat, and mean gluten, because gluten isn't just an aspect of wheat, it's a protein also in barley and in rye. And so you'll have some of those things that aren't so well labeled on different food issues. And then there's some more facts about celiac disease and whatnot on another article there.
And okay, the thing with celiac is that it's been diagnosed. The doctors can look and they can see that you have the antibiotics, your body's producing those that are trying to fight off whatever it is, because we're seeing wheat as a toxin. And literally our intestinal tract becomes, it's an autoimmune disease. It's turning on itself, and you no longer process your foods like you should. I can eat wonderful foods and I don't get the vitamins, because what happens is the villi begins to erode and fall down to where the enzymes are no longer being produced on the villi, and so you are not assimilating your food. So thus you're getting all of these diseases, like your thyroid goes haywire, you have all these kind of diseases, and it's all because you're not assimilating your vitamins. We're at a much higher risk also of contracting another autoimmune disease. It's between 30 and 40% if you have celiac. So if you are having issues like what I'm going to talk about in a minute, kind of take that seriously. If you are wheat intolerant, like Joel said, you have all the same problems, but they can't diagnose it. But the problem is your gut. If you are reacting, like if your stomach is getting inflamed and stuff, if you're reacting to the wheat, you are not assimilating your vitamins either. So you're going to be more prone to other diseases, just like as if you are diagnosed with celiac, if that makes sense. So for me, I kind of leave it at, if you get off of wheat and the symptoms are gone, I don't care if I'm celiac or intolerant to wheat, I don't want it in my body, because I want to be healthy. I want to be able to assimilate my vitamins.
So let's talk a little bit about those symptoms that you were experiencing when you were growing up and different things. You had kind of a weak immune system and you struggled even through your high school years and early years of life. So tell us about that.
Okay, when I was young, I had a very weak immune system. I mean, I think my dad is here, and he can attest to that. I was always getting sick. In the winter time, it wasn't, was I going to get a cold? It's what was the different colds I was getting throughout the whole season. I had no immune system whatsoever. I had definite stomach issues. My stomach was inflamed all the time. I mean, sometimes I would eat and it would literally get like 3 times bigger than what it is now, and the rest of my body was normal. You know, it was just very strange. I started developing right side pain so extreme that I ended up in the emergency room many times. They took out my appendix because they said, it's healthy, but next time we'll know it's not your appendix. So I had that taken out. Yeah, I was not happy when I woke up and I found out my appendix had been taken out. But it was like a stabbing. It was worse than birth pains. That was the pain I was having. Fibromyalgia, I would absolutely hurt. I mean, anyone would touch me and it was like pain down to the bone. It hurt so much. My limbs would swell behind my ears. And also, where else? Under my arms. Once in a while, they were as big as an egg under my arms. And so I'm thinking, do I have lymphoma? I mean, what is going on here? It was just crazy.
Your hands would swell.
Yeah, my right hand swells if I get wheat. I mean, these are real things that you can see. So many times they say, oh, you have, these people, they're hypochondriacs or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, they're overreacting, but these are serious issues that debilitate you. And I don't know if anyone out here is having these problems, but they debilitate you. They really do. Brain fog, memory loss. I still don't quite remember like I would like, but it definitely affects how you're thinking.
That's why I carry my driver's license the whole time.
Let's see, fatigue, extreme fatigue. And if anyone, I don't know if anyone here is celiac at all or has wheat intolerance, it's a tired, that's not like, oh, I'm tired, I've been up for 12, 13 hours or something. It's a tired, like you would get just before you come down with the flu. Like it's like unbelievable tired. I can't even explain it. It's really something. And you get tingling. I will have tingling from fingers down to my feet. It'll just tingle if I get the wheat. So, and the thing of it is I'm perfectly fine as long as I don't have wheat. If I even get a little bit, even now, all of the symptoms that I had before come back. It's not like I've healed and everything's better and I'll get wheat and I just get a little bit, symptoms. I get the whole shebang. So it's very important to stay away from the wheat. And I really encourage, the majority of people do not have stomach symptoms with celiac. When I was studying on this, I was shocked. That was something, I always thought it was stomach issues. They will have other debilitating issues and when they will go in and realize that it's celiac. So if you are having issues and you're eating well and you're just like, what is going on here? I really suggest looking into the wheat thing. Wheat is not what it used to be. It's really not. I think we messed with it too much.
Yeah. So we went to a naturopath doctor finally after years of struggling and you started cleansing and doing different things.
I cleansed for about a year off and on.
Yeah.
She couldn't figure out what was going on because I would cleanse and I'd feel great. The second I started eating, I was sick. It was like I'd go back into that same thing. So it was like if I didn't eat, I'd tell Joel, I don't even want to eat because I start feeling sick. I don't know if any of you know who Elizabeth Hasselbach is. Does anyone know she's on Fox News? Okay. She has celiac, and she has a book out which is a really good resource for that. But she would say, like, she was on the show Survivor, which I think they only would eat a lot of rice and things like that. They pretty much would not eat food. And she said all the cast around her were getting tired and sick, and she had never felt better. And that's when she knew it was what she was eating, and that's when she found out that she had a problem with the wheat. So, yeah.
And that's the way it was with you, too, for a long time.
Yep.
When you were fasting on a cleanse or something, you felt good, and as soon as you started to eat, then you didn't feel
And I
good.
couldn't figure it out because I would go from a vegan diet, and I'd still be sick. And so I'd go into, okay, I'm going to add eggs and cheese and this stuff. And it was like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know what I'm supposed to do because I was willing to do whatever it took. I would exercise and stuff, but I just could never feel well. It was terrible. Finally, though, my sister got diagnosed with celiac. And she really encouraged me, and I'm like, you're crazy. Wheat is healthy for you. It's the grain. We're all taught, if you're going to eat healthy, eat whole grains. And wheat would be the grain, right? Yep. And so, but finally, I did it for about a week, and my symptoms really went away. But for me, it was a journey. I would say, boy, it took me at least 3 years to heal from this. That's the one thing. I had it for so long that it took a long time to heal, and many people will have that problem. It'll take a while to heal. And that's why so many people, they go off the wheat maybe for a week, and they say, no, it's not wheat because I don't feel much better. But if you're eating like all the gluten-free cake mixes, cookie mixes, all these mixes, a lot of it is you can't tolerate yet. You just can't tolerate it. You've got to have a very simple diet when you're healing from it. Very simple. Because think about it, your gut is so inflamed. You're not assimilating anything, you're just...
And it takes time.
It takes time. It took me, I would say, about 3 years to get...
There's some other things you can do, too, that help to heal and help your gut to be healthy? What are some of those things?
Okay, I'm just going to tell you, this is my recommendation. If you feel like wheat might be a problem, corn, soy, these have all been messed with so much that look on the labels, they have it in everything. It's just way too much. We need to move them to the side. You need to be on a good probiotic, definitely on a good probiotic. I do kombucha tea too, I have it over here. This is like, it's fermented like, but it's got the good bacteria in it. I feel so good when I drink this. I know they have this at Central Market, just letting you know. Sauerkraut, you know, these type of things, just trying to get TAMP is good. Just some of those things to try to heal your intestinal tract. Afterwards, if you want some good probiotics, I will mention a couple of them to you if you want to get on a good one. I drink lemon water every morning. It's so good for the liver, and we are dealing with so many toxins if you're dealing with any kind of food intolerance, and it helps your liver to dump the toxins out of your body. I recommend lemon juice or lemon water for everybody. It's just amazing. Very cleansing. Later we're going to show some herbs and things that you can put into your water that you can drink, and it's very healing. Herbs are for us for healing. And so ginger and some of these things, they heal, and they heal your gut, and you are going to feel it. I always really feel it. You need a good multivitamin, especially at first, because you're not assimilating your vitamins. Like a whole food multivitamin is good. You need a very healthy diet, simple diet. That's what I do. I have a simple diet. I don't bother with a lot of the mixes and stuff, and after a while you don't miss them, and you feel so good you don't want them. Juicing is wonderful. I don't know how many of you have juiced or juice. Awesome. Yep. And I did a lot of juicing. And for diabetics, if you are wanting to juice, I mean, so many say, oh, our blood sugars are going to rise. Do green vegetables. I'm talking about like celery, cucumbers, broccoli, this kind of stuff. And if you're worried about your blood sugars, add a little flax meal to it and drink it. And the flax meal, that fiber in there, is going to control your blood sugars. Yeah, cleansing. I don't know how many of you have cleansed before. If you even want to raise your hand if you haven't done that.
Nobody wants to admit to that.
Yeah. I think it's awesome because you feel so good, so I'm not even ashamed of it. Yeah, and then it's surprising, but garlic, cayenne, grapefruit seed extract, all of these help get those bad bugs out of your system, and that's really good to start doing some of these onion, you know, some of these kind of things. Lemon is good for that, to get the bad bugs out. So anyways,
Fantastic.
yeah.
So that's brought us to where we are today. We're eating a gluten-free diet in our home. We are. You have a pamphlet of many different recipes. We're not going to demonstrate them all. You're going to see the first three: the oatmeal patties and the meatballs, and the quinoa patties. I should have asked somebody else to say that. You know, everybody always stumbles on quinoa. Did you know that quinoa was not rediscovered? You know, it's an ancient grain, and nobody really ate it until about 1980 when some guy out in Boulder, Colorado started to grow it. And figured Boulder, Colorado would come up with something strange. Yeah. I know, but I was talking about quinoa.
Sorry.
And so quinoa is a really interesting grain, and when we get there, we've got some fantastic stuff to talk about that. So you'll be able to follow along on there, and then after those three, you're going to have to flip back a little ways. We're going to be talking about some baked beans that are really fantastic you can make in your crock pot. And then actually later on we're going to eat together. We've got baked potatoes and salad, and you're going to get to taste all of the items that we're demonstrating here for you today. I hope all of you signed up in the back because we're going to draw for a couple of cookbooks. We're going to draw for 2 cookbooks. We'll take 2 names. You can pick whatever cookbook you like. So there are gluten-free cookbooks and there are just vegetarian cookbooks back there. So you can choose whatever one you would like if your name is drawn. And I saw a hand back here.
I know there's a lot about organic now. Does that affect the gluten if you get organic?
No, it doesn't affect the gluten, but organic is much better because you're not getting the chemicals. You know, the chemicals are hard. That's another taxing thing on your body. Like these oats are organic that I have. They're gluten-free organic oats.
There is another theory out there along with the wheat intolerance that adds to the gluten intolerance is the fact that they are using so many different sprays on the products, especially Roundup, before, during, and after harvest, and they're thinking that some of that may be even affecting people as well. So there are different theories out there as to why all of a sudden people are allergic to gluten, when 30 years ago, 40 years ago, you never heard of it. Nobody was sick from
The
eating gluten.
Roundup sterilizes the dirt, the ground where they're growing it, and I can't remember how many years it takes for it to get back to where it needs to be.
There's a lot of different things
Not
that happen.
good.
So there's some different theories out there. So some of the organic products are most likely better for you. I shouldn't say most likely, they are better for you. You're not dealing with the chemical introductions. But you know, God has given us so many wonderful items in the vegetables and the fruits. I mean, you look at the display back here, all the beans and the vegetables and the fruits. God has given us complete balanced items for us to eat that are going to help keep our bodies running properly and healthy. And yeah.
We heard a program on the radio, I think it was 1 Mile had a recorder, and they were talking about Roundup, 5 to 10 years.
Okay, yeah, that
So,
sounds about
the
right.
chemicals are kind of rough on the environment, and they're hard on us too. So,
And the
that's the big
soybeans
thing.
have really been, yeah.
but the first thing we're going to introduce to you is oatmeal patties. Now, I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity to eat a hamburger that was not a hamburger, right? But
How many is this something new for you, like having a patty that's like oatmeal? Yeah, okay.
So there's going to be some new, but you're going to find that the best way to do this is not a hamburger. This is an oatmeal burger. Okay, this is an oatmeal patty, and they're fantastically good tasting.
Okay.
And so, show us how we put them together.
Is all oatmeal gluten-free?
No. No, a lot of the oats, if they are grown near wheat and there's cross-contamination, or else they are processed in a facility with wheat. And think about it, wheat is just, I was in a plant, was it last summer?
Yeah.
And it is just, when you do the wheat, it's all over the place, and then they put the oats right through the same place, so it is,
We
you have to have.
walked
gluten-free
into
oats.
the mill, and her whole body immediately was tingling. She had to leave. She had to turn around and leave, because you can smell. I mean, it's like walking into a fog.
It was horrible.
And I used to work in a mill too, so you walk in, and I'm like, oh yeah, that reminds me of old times, and she's over here collapsing, you know, I had to carry her out. But I knew she was going to be in trouble. I said, we're going to the mill. She said, we'll see. And we took one step in. She was like, I can't be in here. Out the door. We had to go.
Yeah,
So.
it was,
Yeah, her whole body
it's
was
amazing, you
tingling.
have got to do gluten-free oats, I'm glad you asked that, you have to do gluten-free oats, it's just, okay. The one thing I want to mention to you, you'll notice with these patties, we're using nuts, and we're using whole grains like oats. I also, if you cannot do oats, is there anyone in here who knows they cannot do oats? Good, okay, because there is another option, it's quinoa flakes, and they're flaky. Now I noticed these, you can get some that are a little bigger, these are a little, but they are kind of like the same as oats, and I believe they have some at Central Market, Amazon. Does anyone shop off Amazon? That's a really good place to get stuff that are gluten-free. It just is, the prices are so much better. So anyway, you can use quinoa flakes if you want, but the reason we are doing, we're using quinoa today, oats, and then we have some walnuts that we're using for some of the recipes, is my main reason for not eating meat is I don't want all of that fat going into my body without having the fiber that comes along with the oats and the quinoa and things like that. Fiber is so important for our bodies. Because like the oats have tons of protein, but we need the insoluble fiber because it bulks up and it keeps things moving through our intestinal tract and it cleans everything. So I'm just going to tell you, like, let's say if you've had sugar or some of these kind of things, it stabilizes your blood sugars so that they're not going to spike. If you're having things that, like if you have a little sugar, let's say after you've had your quinoa and stuff like that, and you have a cookie, it's going to be much easier on your body than having a refined spaghetti noodles, you know, and that type of stuff, and then going and eating a cookie. You need that fiber. We need that fiber in our diet. And it cleans the intestinal tract out. It's wonderful, and we need to be using that. The soluble removes the cholesterol out of our intestinal tract. It actually becomes gel-like, and it takes the cholesterol right out. And we need that because we don't want the cholesterol sitting there, right? For our hearts, we don't need that. So yeah, it slows digestion so we can absorb our nutrients. Really important if you're diabetic, really important, and really important if you're celiac. Because with me, I can very easily, my blood sugars can just go all over the place. The fiber prevents cancer, heart disease, blood, and it stabilizes our blood sugars. So many times if you have heart disease or something, they're going to take you off of the red meats and things like that, and there's a reason, because it's lacking that fiber, and we need that. God made our grains perfect for us. He made it perfect for our bodies. He just truly did. And so I suggest, like, even if you're not willing to give up meat yet, eat less meat and add the grains. Seriously, just add the grains, because that's really going to help to be able to get the cholesterol out, get some of those things out. So anyways, okay, our first recipe is the oatmeal patties. This is just super simple, and I wanted to pick something easy because a lot of us don't have a lot of time. We just take the oats. I had 2 cups of oats already pre-measured. You just add an onion, and I just wanted, it's really neat. Onions are high in vitamin C. How many of you guys knew that? I did not know that until I was doing this. I didn't know that. They have the phytochemicals or phytonutrients, which is in all of our vegetables, our grains, our fruits. Phytochemicals are what our plants produce to protect themselves from disease. So what are they doing when we eat them? They protect us from disease. That's why it's so important to be eating this plethora of fruits and vegetables. It's amazing. God put that into our food to protect us. It's to protect us. So I just love the phytochemical thing. It gives us the color too, the colors of our fruits and vegetables. Onions regulate blood sugars. So if you're diabetic, onions, they're wonderful because of the chromium in them, right? Yep. And it reduces inflammation and it heals infections. I know people who will take an onion and they will cut it during the flu season or whatnot, and everybody's getting sick around them, or you've got sick kids in your house, and they will just take the onion, open it up, cut it open, and you just let it sit there, and it's going to grab the germs and the bugs in the air, and it's amazing.
The face of the onion will actually turn black.
Turn black. It turns black.
Because it's
Yeah.
attracting all the viruses.
Think what it's
and all
doing
the
in your
bacteria.
body when you put it in your body. I mean, think about what it's doing for your health. See, God, again, studying for this, I just realized how much God has made everything just perfect for us in our foods. And He wants us healthy. He wants us to be healthy. So anyways, okay, we'll get to this. All right, so we have the oats, because we want all that fiber. All you need to do is grab, it's 1 cup of onion, and just throw it in there. I mean, these are so easy. This is like a base one. Okay, 2 to 3 tablespoons chicken-style seasoning or tamari sauce. I mean, I don't use a lot of soy sauce, but once in a while I'll do it. What I am going to do in this one is I did 1 tablespoon of the soy sauce and 1 tablespoon of chicken-style seasoning. And the one that I use, I'm just going to tell you, I get it off Amazon again. It's hard to find ones that don't have a lot of garbage in them. And this one is very natural. It's gluten-free. It's from Germany. And it's very natural. And I get it off Amazon. It's called Sietenbacher. I don't know, have any of you seen this one? Seems like, no, yeah. In Colorado, they would have them all over, and I can't find them around here. But there's different, this is a vegetable broth, actually. If you don't like soy sauce, vegetable broth, you can put any seasonings you want. This is the beauty. These oats will just absorb any seasonings. So if you do poultry seasoning, if you want to saute garlic, if you want to, whatever you want to do, if you want to make it a little spicy and put a little chipotle or whatever you want to do, just add that in with the oats. Yep, it'll take on any flavor. That's the neat thing. Sometimes I'll even put barbecue sauce right in the meatballs, and that's really good. Okay, and then we do 2 cups of the almond milk. And good, we've got, oops, I gotta put the seasoning in. So you just dump it in there, we're just dumping. We have 2 cups of the almond milk, and Joel, I'm gonna let you talk about the almonds, because these are awesome.
While she's pouring the almond milk in there, almonds are kind of a neat, they're called the king of the nuts, and they're so good for us. They actually have been known to lower cholesterol if you eat the almonds. Even though they're high in fat, they lower the cholesterol in our bodies. They're loaded with vitamin E, which is an antioxidant which prevents arteries and clogging in your artery. They lower your risk of cancer, and they lower your risk of heart disease. Almonds are known to actually raise your brain activity, and so that there's good things about eating almonds. And almonds were, let me remember this, they were the only alkalizing nut. The only nut that you can eat that actually alkalizes your body. So if your body is acidic, you're more prone to cancers and disease. You want an alkali pH in your body. Almonds help you to alkalize your body. And so it's one of those things that, and they're the only nut that does that. And so they're really an amazing little thing. And actually, they're a pit fruit. They're more on the lines
Of a
of
seed.
apricot
Yep.
and peach. They're the pit fruit. So
Yep.
that's what
Yeah, they're amazing. Okay, all you do is just dump everything in there and you mix it. You want to mix it really good. You're gonna mix it. It's kind of a small bowl.
Yeah.
Okay, but you mix it really well. But what you want to do then is, I like to pop it in the fridge. It does it mention you need, yeah, you just let it sit for an hour. But I pop it in the fridge and it'll gel up like this, if you see that. Just like as if you're making oatmeal, it just kind of swells. And then all you have to do is you grab it and you just, okay, if you want to make like a burger, you just make it bigger, you just make it larger, and you can just fry it on both sides with just a little bit of oil. Like a little, here's olive spray oil. You just do that in a pan and fry it on both sides till you brown it. Or you can make it smaller, just like a smaller one, make it like a patty, and then put a gravy on top of it. But it's very easy, very easy. So, yeah, that's where it gelled up. I just want to show you, this is what the patty looks like when it comes out. Kind of like that.
Right on both sides.
Yep, just put it in like a casserole pan. And the gravy we're going to show you today, this is an easy one. It's a gluten-free one. It's at Central Market, I found it. It's a brown gravy mix, and it's gluten-free. And it's also vegetarian. It does not have any beef in it, so, yeah,
And these patties were good on a sandwich too.
they do, yep.
I'll take them to lunch. I'll just put the patties and a little onion, a lot of onion usually, a little lettuce, and off I go.
Yep.
But they're really good. They're really
They
good on a
are.
sandwich too. So they're very versatile. You can have them warm baked, or you can have them warm on a sandwich. You can have them cold on a sandwich. They're really good. So,
Yep.
fantastic.
Okay, so we're gonna clear this out, Susan, and we're gonna do the next one are meatballs.
Here,
Okay.
That should be the second page on your handout. Should be the meatballs. And I know the name is a little deceiving. There is no meat in this ball. But there's a lot of walnuts. And these meatballs that we make are really good. Matter of fact, I have a friend of mine here who said he could hurt himself on your meatballs. So, right, Red?
Okay.
Yeah. He liked them very much, so they're good. So tell us how to make these.
Well, and the deal is with, for so long they said don't eat nuts. Stay away from nuts because, there's too much fat in them, and now they've realized that the nuts that God gave us are good for our heart. They're not bad. And they actually lower cholesterol. They have the omega-3s for our brain health. And I remember when they had these cookies, they were full of walnuts, and they call them the happy cookies. Well, these are like happy walnuts because they're full of
Happy
walnuts. They're
meatballs.
good for the winter season, yes. They have melatonin in them naturally, these walnuts do, so they help you sleep. That's fantastic. But they reduce your blood pressure, reduce weight actually with nuts. That doesn't make sense, but they do. And, well, I have shiny hair for us ladies, that's important. But anyways, yeah, so those are pretty cool. So anyways, what we did, and I'm going to show this. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Ninja food processor. Has anyone ever used one of these? I love them. I love these. Do you have one? Oh, it's just awesome. It's at Walmart, and no, I don't get commission for it, but this is an easy food processor to use, and with this, we need to use the food processor for the walnuts, because you don't want them crunchy and big. You want it to taste like a meatball. You want it to have that consistency. So all you do is you just put it into the food processor, pop it on, okay, press,
Down on top.
there it goes. It's very easy. And there you go. And you've got them all ground up. It's very easy. And you can grind them even more. This probably isn't as ground as what I usually do. But what it does is if you really grind them fine, the meatballs are going to have that meat consistency because of the fat, the good fat, in the walnuts. So it's
You
pretty
can
cool.
fool the best carnivore you know.
Yeah. That's right. Okay. So we throw in the walnuts. We have gluten-free breadcrumbs. It says toasted. When we were making these, we didn't toast them, and they were just fine. So either or. You just dump those in. Gluten-free bread, you can find a lot of them at Central Market locally here. I know Costco has gluten-free bread. Walmart has one, it's called the Shars in the gluten-free area. I don't know if you guys, how many of you have looked at the Walmart's gluten-free area? Yeah, I mean, it's not huge, but yeah, I wish it was bigger too. But anyways, so you can find the gluten-free bread. Costco has a cheaper bread. There's a good one with Rudy's. So there's different gluten-free breads. Then we take the seasonings, which is the garlic powder. And this one has tamari sauce too. You just dump them in there. We're going to do the nutritional yeast. And let's see. One thing I wanted to tell you about the nutritional yeast. Okay, they have a lot of B vitamins. For cell growth, skin and muscle tone, reduces stress and depression. And we all know that the B vitamins are so important for depression and for stress. But the yeast is dead in the nutritional yeast. I was leery of nutritional yeast for a while because I'm thinking nutritional yeast. So I was looking at that, and they say it's dead, so that it's not going to do anything in your gut. I hope that's true. So anyway, so we'll dump that in there. And then we have the egg, or the onions, and what else was it? And the arrowroot. That was one thing. Okay, arrowroot's kind of interesting. How many of you ever used arrowroot? Okay, I use it instead of cornstarch because I don't want all the corn ingredients all the time. In other countries, they actually use arrowroot for baby formula. Yeah, because of the health benefits to it. They put it on wounds to heal their wounds. They draw out poisons with it, and it's got minerals and protein there again. So arrowroot is a wonderful, and I believe they do have it at Central Market. I know they do, but it's a wonderful thing. And actually, arrowroot, do you have a ginger piece here? Oh, Susan, could you run in the back and get because arrowroot kind of looks like a ginger root. It's kind of what it looks like if you look at the picture. So we throw that in. And I'm just going to start mixing this. This is what it looks like with a spoon. Okay, so you start mixing. And the wonderful thing with this is I'm not adding any oils at all. I'm just having the walnuts. That's it.
Could you use something else besides the breadcrumbs, like maybe some almond butter or something like that, if you don't want to use the bread?
Yes, you can use anything that, like, I'm thinking, you don't want cornflakes. You can do, they have a gluten-free Rice Krispies. You could do rice.
I try to stay away from all grains, so, I mean,
Okay,
when you
so
try
you can't do any grains. Okay.
well, I can, I just try not to.
Yeah.
But have you ever tried like something like almond butter or
I haven't.
a
It'd be
cashew butter?
interesting to know if that would work.
Yeah. Maybe some,
Could you use quinoa?
That's what I was thinking of, like quinoa, rice, or else like millet or something like that, if you could, yeah.
Because
I'm thinking
quinoa is
you
not a
could.
grain.
coconut
seed.
flour maybe, coconut flour.
Yep, I would try it. I don't know if the flours, if that would work, but I'm thinking like quinoa or something like that would work, I really do. Yep. Okay, and I'm gonna get my hands dirty because I'm gonna show you. It looks right now like it's just kind of flaky and like how is it gonna stay together? But the fats in the walnuts, actually, if you start working it, it's going to stick together. I'm just going to show you. I'll just do a portion of it. Okay, let me just keep going here. And the size of the meatballs that you want is almost like the size of a walnut. So it's about like that, or even a little smaller. That's the size you want. But if you notice, it does stick together. And when you bake it in the oven, it comes out just like kind of like a meatball. And you can put any sauce you want then on top of the meatball. And I'm going to tell you, what we did today, my hands are dirty here, is we did kind of like a sweet and sour barbecue sauce. What I was doing was easy sauces. A lot of times at home I make my sauces from scratch, I just do. But with this, we used peach and apricot, because we didn't have enough of the apricot. But it's Poliner, so it's all fruit. You just take one of these jars, they're at Walmart, and you take half a cup, and I grabbed the Weber barbecue sauce because I could read all of the ingredients, I knew exactly what they were. It wasn't like I was reading a list that long, it was very short. And they do have sugar in there, but not corn syrup. And I do not want to put corn syrup in my body. So anyways, use half a cup of that, and you just mix the two together and put it over the meatballs. So it's an easy sweet and sour sauce. But yeah, that's the meatballs, and you just put them in the pan. I spray it usually with just a tad bit of olive oil. You don't need much at all. You just spray it and you make the meatballs. And there you go. Yes?
What do you use in place of salt?
In place of what?
Salt.
I do use some salt. I use sea salt.
A girl last fall told me of a product that works real nice, it tastes real good on baked potatoes, and that's liquid aminos by Bragg's.
Yep.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I was just
And I've used Bragg. Yep. I don't know, I do use a little salt. Actually what I've been using lately is the Himalayan pink salt. I don't know if any of you guys have used that. That's amazing. I feel so good with that. So I use a little salt, I do. But what helps is the fiber. If you're getting your fiber, you can use a little bit of some of these things because it's heading out of your body. You know what I mean? It's not like, you're not spiking things.
Yeah, just to throw another wrinkle in our house, my son and I are both allergic to soy products, so anything that's made with soy, whether it be soy sauce or liquid aminos or anything like that, is off limits in our home. So we're soy-free, and we're gluten-free, and we're vegetarian, and we still look okay, right?
So I make a homemade soy sauce that I can use so that these guys, Yep, that's how we are. Okay, so we've got, where are we now?
We're on quinoa.
Okay, this is the last one.
Your third page in your thing, we're talking about quinoa patties.
Okay. Oh, and here, like the arrow, this is ginger. The arrowroot looks a lot like this. It just really does. I'm looking at that. Okay.
Is that stuff you put in there, that arrowroot that you put in there, was that some?
Well, this is ginger
Or
root,
is it just?
but the arrowroot kind of looks like that. I'm just showing you what it looks
It comes in as a powder already, powdered.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was a white powder.
Yeah.
It's just like a white
Well,
powder.
that's what you put in there?
Yep.
Powder?
Yep, I use arrowroot instead of cornstarch.
And I found some cheaper arrowroot at Service Food. It came in a bigger bag
Okay.
to the seasoning bottle. It was about the same price.
Okay, okay. And I will get mine again off of Amazon. I do a lot of that. There's also a co-op here in Detroit Lakes. I don't know, Azure Standard. Does anybody know about that co-op? Yeah, and you can get things in bulk a lot cheaper too. So, and I think if you get a hold of me, or I think Jana knows about Azure, right? Yeah, we'll try to hook you up with someone. Yes, or Connie too. Yep, and Sandy, I don't know you two. Okay, all right. Okay, we are going to now do quinoa. I'm going to tell you, I love quinoa. That is like, I don't know, I just love quinoa. I'm going to just tell you, it is actually a seed, and it's related to spinach, beets, and Swiss chard. Yeah, whoever knew. I feel so good when I eat quinoa. I will tell you, I've been eating it for the last 3 weeks. And I'm going to tell you, one of the things with my celiac is I never felt hungry. I went for years and never had a hunger pain, ever. Did not, the way I would know I was hungry is I'd get dizzy. And the last week, I was walking through the living room and I stopped. I said, Joel, I've got a hunger pain. I was like, what's going on here? Well, I've been eating tons of quinoa, and I'm going to tell you something amazing about quinoa. This is one grain I recommend. Even if you taste it, you don't like it, keep eating it and make yourself decide you like it, because it's amazing. It's a complete protein. It's a total complete protein. There is no gluten in it whatsoever. The Incas used to eat it for energy. And they actually, what did they call it? The mother grain or something like that.
They call it Incan gold.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. Because it gave them energy and it gave them vitality, and that was their main staple diet was quinoa.
And it was a strategy of the Spanish to defeat the Incas to burn all of their quinoa fields and destroy their food source. And
Yeah.
was part of the strategy. to
That's
get rid of
right.
it. But some of it survived, it grew wild, and somebody in Boulder found it.
Yeah.
And then he started cultivating, and now that's why we have this resurgence of quinoa
Mhm.
in the natural food arena. And
The UN, actually, they're looking at quinoa right now and how to cultivate it in large amounts, and I hope they don't ruin it. But, as the grain of the future for people, you know, it's been wheat and it's been some of the stuff, but to have it quinoa.
NASA has
Yeah.
looked at quinoa as the food they will send with astronauts into space because it's so complete.
Well, they want to figure out a way how to cultivate it up in space.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh.
The one thing that is so cool about quinoa that I really think is what helped me is it naturally has high amounts of quercetin. Quercetin is like, it's anti-inflammatory. I used to take it for my allergies. I used to take quercetin naturally for my allergies. Quinoa has it right in there. So when you're eating that, it's, you know, it's bringing the inflammation down in your body. How cool, I mean, that is cool. That is very cool. Huge amount of fiber, of course, which we love. High in iron and calcium is just, it stimulates your metabolism. Yay. So, I mean, it's doing all of these things. I love quinoa. I really suggest if you are dealing with dietary issues, like you're just not feeling well, to really incorporate quinoa. I've been almost doing it twice a day now. I'll have it for breakfast and I'll have it for lunch or supper. And I usually don't do it in patties. I mean, our theme was patties and loaves. What I usually do is just cook it up like I would rice, and then I will put on something like curry or just beans. You know, have beans and have a salad, or you know, something very simple.
For breakfast, sometimes we'll have
We do a lot.
fruit sauce, maple syrup is good on it.
Yeah. So, anyways, but yeah, it's just amazing. So, anyways, we are going to do the quinoa patties. You take 2.5 cups of quinoa. That's what it is right here. Now you can do it with eggs. You can beat 4 eggs, or you can do the flax eggs, which is actually,
Some people may not know what that is.
yeah, you grind up.
Flax do not lay eggs, by the way. Just so you know.
Golden flaxseed, okay? You take golden flaxseed. How many of you have had flaxseed? I mean, that's kind of like everybody talks about flaxseed. Okay, so you take it and you grind it up. I use a coffee grinder, and I will just put some in there and grind it up, and it makes it into a nice
It's
thing.
back of you there.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Yeah, and the cord is not coming out, so, but we ground it up and it just turns it into like a flax meal. If you put it in there, you just turn it on and it whizzes it up. Okay, I hope you all can see that. And what you do is you take 1 tablespoon of this to 3 tablespoons of water for each egg. And you mix it together like what we have right here. And what it's gonna do is, okay, you mix it up and you put it in the fridge for 15 minutes. And what it's gonna do is become a gel like this. And then you put it in with the patties. And that's the binder instead of the egg. I don't know if any of you have ever done that. But it becomes like really, if you look at that, gooey. Can you guys see that? It's very gooey.
What was the ratio again? 1 tablespoon?
1
of
to
flax?
3.
1 to 3.
Yep. Okay, let's see. The salt. Okay, so we put in the salt, parsley, and chives, the onions, and the flax. Just gonna dump them in there. All of these recipes really are very easy. And what else do we have here? Okay, now you can do Parmesan if you're doing it with dairy, or else you can take the nutritional yeast and 2 tablespoons of, you can do vegan cheese. The other option is if you don't want to have any of that in there, to do like grated carrots or put some spinach in there. Make it a little, yeah. So I've done both. So just throw it in there. We have minced garlic, 6 cloves, which by the way, we really want garlic. Antiviral, bacterial, and fungal. And it's loaded with antioxidants to kill free radicals, which is the stuff in our body that causes aging, cancer, that kind of stuff. So it's pretty cool. And where am I at?
Oil. Oh, breadcrumbs.
No, and the breadcrumbs, yep. But again, I don't know where that gal went. Okay.
Right there.
She's
Oh,
Back
okay.
and forth.
Yeah.
She disappeared.
Okay, so we're doing the breadcrumbs, and you just mix it together.
Val, did you want me to pass out the quinoa so you can see what it looks like when it's cooked?
Sure. Okay. Yep. That's good.
How long does it take to cook? Can you have the box of it? Like rice is about 20 minutes?
Yeah, it's about 20 minutes. Yeah. And I'll tell you, one other thing that I did when I was trying to heal my body, because I wasn't digesting things very well, if I was doing rice or anything like that, I would cook it slower, and it actually is easier to digest then, if you let it cook, you know, for a longer time. In fact, I think it was, I'd really slow cook it almost for like an hour. Yeah, it's easier to digest then. Okay, so you just mix it up. And then there again, now with this, you can rather take a skillet and, you know, you just form it into a little patty. I'm just going to do it here. Okay, you just form it into a patty, and you can rather put it in a skillet, or else you can bake it in the oven on both sides. So, yeah. I'm trying to think, is that it? I think so. Okay, I think that's it.
What about a cayenne? Isn't that, is this cayenne?
Yep. Cayenne, we put in there, that's great for the circulation and for metabolism. If you're trying to lose some weight, cayenne is wonderful for that.
Oh, and cayenne is known that if you use it on a regular basis, cayenne will actually strip the cholesterol from your arteries. So it's like a roto-rooter for your arteries. So if you use it over time, it'll actually clean up those arteries that you've abused for so many years. So cayenne's a good thing. It's a little warm,
But again, like with the quinoa and the millet and stuff like that, anything you normally put on pasta, you know, like if you can put on spaghetti sauce, you know, onto the quinoa and eat it that way, you're getting the basic back to nature versus something that's been processed, which is always better for our body. So anything that you normally do with, you know, pasta, anything. I mean, just put it on your quinoa on the side, and that's good. Stir fries are really good with rice, millet, quinoa, that type of a thing.
Is there a nutritional difference between red quinoa and white quinoa?
I'm sure there is. Not sure.
What is the cook you have there? What is the cook that you have here? What is
That's
that
quinoa.
made from? I know, but which kind?
oh, that's a white.
White?
Yeah.
That's a white.
Okay.
White is the most common.
So it would be red if it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen the red.
It's pretty. It's very pretty.
We're passing it
Yeah.
right around. See, normally it would be white or an off-white.
Yeah, I don't know the nutritional difference between the two, but I'm sure there is because you have that color there. So I'm sure, yeah. Okay. Water tank? Okay. We're gonna just do no. Okay. Okay. And one thing I'm just going to talk about, because I know Jane is going to be coming up in a few minutes to do a wonderful beans. She's going to cook up some beans for us. So I'm just going to talk about legumes for a second. Legumes is like one of those things that it's just the common denominator for a lot of cultures where they live long. They do a lot of legumes. Legumes are like beans, lentils, you know, any of this stuff here. We've got our black beans, and we've got red lentils, and we've got
White and dark
kidney beans. Here's the lentils. I love lentils because you don't have a lot of prep time. You know, you can just use them last minute. So many times I'm last minute and I haven't soaked my beans and that kind of stuff. But and our peas are legumes. And legumes are extremely low in fat, but they're a high protein source of our B vitamins. A lot of people are low in their B vitamins. We just need to be eating more of our legumes, getting them into our diet. They're high in minerals, and I'm just going to tell you, especially high in like magnesium, iron, potassium, and zinc. Magnesium has huge cardio benefits, which causes veins and arteries to relax and then improves our blood flow. And they're high in magnesium. That's just a huge benefit. Iron, we know, is good for our blood. Potassium, you know, for our blood pressure. And zinc is definitely for our immune system. You'll see a lot of things that are zinc for colds. huge for our immune system, digestion, and control of diabetes and stress. So these legumes definitely are a benefit. So I just really want to encourage you guys to start cooking with the legumes. Let's see. There's one other thing I wanted to say. They are a perfect balance of carbohydrates, protein, and fiber. So God has put that into the legumes for us to be able to eat and have that perfect combination for our health. I just thought that was kind of neat. So, let's see. And we have a recipe that is for lentils. It's a lentil loaf. You'll be trying that. You can just cook those up too and make them like a savory dish and throw them over your quinoa millet also. I mean, it's just a very simple thing. So please eat lentils. They are just wonderful for you. Okay, so what are we doing now? The water?
Do we want to do water?
Yeah, I guess we are. Really quick, before I let Dana come up, I'm just going to show you what you're going to notice over there, when you guys go over there, is we did a bunch of waters, which have, they actually have cucumber, lemon, and mint. And I tell you, a lot of people don't like the taste of water, and we all know we need to hydrate. We need to hydrate ourselves. And I'm going to tell you, I've started putting these kind of things in my water, and it's amazing because I was just reading in Reader's Digest. I believe it's the most recent one. And they were talking about groups of people that live forever in pockets of the world. And they're like, what are these people doing? Well, most of them had plant-based diets. They were plant-based. And they used herbs. They would grow their own vegetables and stuff, and they would have herbs that they would use for healing. And God has said He gave us the leaves, what is it? Thank you. Yes, I think that's in Ezekiel. And He truly has, because I'm just going to show you. Okay, so we put in cucumber. It's for definitely hydrating, and it's for our skin. Cucumber, you know, there's so many facial items that have cucumber stuff in it. Mint is for digestion. I've been really doing the mint in my water, and I think that's been helping for my digestion. So that's pretty cool. The lemon is a liver detoxifier. We talked about that. It's a cleanser, and it helps us digest foods. I mean, that's how it is. I was talking to someone where they were telling me he has a natural health center, how they will take, if someone is having a heart attack, they have had people take 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper with a glass of water, and it has stopped the heart attack. Crazy. Yep, it's incredible. And I was reading online, so I'm like, okay, this is cool. I'm going to look into this. They recommend taking 1/4 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper with water every morning. And eventually, it actually cleans the walls of the arteries. How cool is that? I mean, that is just very cool. So I recommend cayenne pepper. I would just, yes.
If you can't stomach that in the water, put it into tomato juice.
And you don't even know it's there.
Like
Yeah.
spicy V8.
Okay, yep, that's excellent, yeah. But seriously, I've started taking this every morning. I just have. I think it's cool, and it really wakes you up, obviously. But it gets you going. It's like, whoo, you know. I'll do this with lemon. I like to do this with the lemon. Well, anyways.
Which is the whole teaspoon in your mouth. You forget about the heart attack. You're worried about it burning in your
No,
mouth.
but daily, I want to make this, it's only 1/4 of a teaspoon daily. It's if you're having a heart attack, and I'm saying you still go to the doctor, you still, even if you're in the middle of a heart attack. But if you don't have any, you know, you're at home and you're like, oh my goodness, take a teaspoon of this. It's amazing, it's amazing.
Just in your mouth.
In water.
With water.
No,
Put it in water and mix it.
cold.
But it's really not that hot. I don't think it's that hot. Or maybe I've been taking it so much, so I don't know. Okay. The other thing I wanted to share with you guys is ginger and turmeric. Turmeric kills cancer. That's been proven. And it's also anti-inflammatory, so it's excellent if you're having stomach issues. So I take water. I use water as a tonic for me. It's like a healer. I'll take a glass of water, and whatever I have with this stuff, I'll use it. But ground turmeric, I'll just put it in my water because I know I have a lot of inflammation because I'm dealing with these intestinal problems. I know I do. The other thing is ginger. It's a natural detoxifier. It increases your metabolism, and it soothes your stomach. I mean, how many people we take ginger to help things? Well, it really does that, and it's healing for the stomach. So I'll put a little dump of this, a little dump of that. throw my lemon in there and my mint, because I'm trying to heal everything.
And you can actually use the raw ginger root in your water too. We've done that before
Yes.
too.
And I love, that's even better. You take a little bit of it, so you just cut off kind of the skin part, I do anyways, and then I'll just grate it into my water. It's really good. If you don't like chunks in your water, which I don't mind it, I really don't, I'll eat it. You can just strain it, leave it in there for maybe 20 minutes, half hour, or whatever, and then just strain it and drink the water.
What is that?
Ginger root.
Ginger root.
Raw ginger root.
Yep. But I'm seriously, in the morning, I will do this, and it makes you feel so good. I'm not kidding you. Please try this. If nothing else, do the lemon water in the morning right away. It's amazing. But these are the natural things God has given us. And they talked about oregano, all these kind of things you can put in there. One was mint and raspberry, one was mint and strawberry. There's different concoctions you can make. It's delicious. It really is. I love it. Skip the pop, skip the coffee, all that kind of stuff. Drink the stuff and feed your cells. That's what it's all about. One thing I don't think I mentioned, when I went to the natural doctor, they check the age of your cells. They can do an age check with your cells to see if you're healthy, if your cells are healthy. When I went there, I was like a 70-year-old, and she was shocked. She was just like, wow, okay. I could tell she was shocked. That's how bad I was. That's why I'm going to be feeding myself and doing things to, heal. And that I'm up here even being able to talk and do any of this is really amazing. Yeah. So anyways, God has given us the stuff. He just wants us to use it. He really just wants us to use it.
Now, what was that tea you had back there, that kombucha?
Yeah, this is at Central Market. Yeah, pretty cool.
What is it?
What was the name of it again?
Kombucha. Do you want to show it to me?
Yeah. Well, I can't get out of here because
Oh, that's okay.
Okay. Yep. It's got the probiotics.
It comes in various flavors. There's ginger ale, ginger berry, there's
Yeah.
plain, there's...
Yep. So anyways, sauerkraut. How many of you like
Drink it
sauerkraut?
straight.
That's an awesome thing to use.
You don't eat very much in the end.
No, I don't know, but it's very all.
They recommend a whole one, in a day. I'll usually do maybe like half. It's, yeah.
But do you think you could buy that in a regular tea powder that you could drink with hot?
I've never seen it in a powder. Does anyone know if the kombucha tea?
Yeah, it's in a cooler because it's fermented. Like sauerkraut is fermented.
You'll actually
kombucha.
see things floating in it, so that's good.
Yeah, there's stuff floating in it. You know it's good. All right, Jana, why don't you come up and show us some beans? If you want to take your handout, you can flip a few pages over, you'll find crock pot baked beans. This is going to be Jana's addition to us
And
today.
this is good because it's very simple.
What else?
Yeah. Legumes.
Let's see.
Okay, many of you have seen this crock pot in this room. We have potluck here after church almost every week. And if I don't bring this crock pot with this baked bean recipe that I'm going to give to you today, if I don't have it along, I could just almost go home because it is such a staple and people enjoy it so much. So I just will quickly go through what I do. Most of the time I use pinto beans. Now you can use navy beans, you can use Great Northern beans. I like the pinto beans, they seem to hold their shape a little bit better. And the darker color, we know darker colors and the different colors in the beans have different vitamins, enzymes, minerals that we all need. So,
And it's pretty reasonable, isn't it?
oh yes, I get this 10-pound bag at Sam's for less than $8. But these are not organic. Most of my other beans I do buy organic. But anyway, these are Great Northern navy beans, same thing, but they'll get a little bit mushy. But anyway, I start with an average crock pot this size, 5 cups of dry beans. Okay, you're gonna sort them, pick out any that are, dark. You might run into a stone or something once in a while. Anyway, you're gonna sort them and you're gonna soak them in plenty of water, because beans are gonna at least double in size, if not triple in size, after they soak and while they're cooking.
I made that mistake when I first was making them. I put way too many beans and the crock pot lid was off. And it was like,
Yeah, so you have to kind of think ahead the size of your crock pot. But for the recipe that you have, it's 5 cups in an average crock pot like this.
How many quarts is that, Jana?
I think this is a 5 quart. It's kind of the average. Okay, so then you're gonna sort the beans, and I usually rinse them and then soak them with plenty of water, and then after they've soaked, I usually leave them overnight, but you need several hours because beans just need that time. Okay, then I will take the water off. I'll strain them, I'll rinse them again, and then I will cover them with new water, and I will turn it on. On this crock pot, I can cook them on low overnight. Now on the big crock pot, it's over there on the floor that I have for samples. That one, I have to cook on high overnight for some reason. So every crock pot is different. You'll have to experiment to see, if high or low and how many hours you want to spend, with it cooking. And whether you let it cook overnight or during the day, whatever works for you. But anyway, so you'll have to kind of figure that out on your own with your own crock pot, how long it takes. But then after they're cooked, I'm going to take like a soup ladle and I'm going to dip off some of the water because I don't want bean soup. So I will dip off so that the water is left about halfway up on the level of the beans, because you want some moisture in there, but you don't want the beans to be swimming in that. Okay, and then I will just start to add my ingredients, and I'll put in like a whole onion, depends on if you like onion or not. I like a lot of onion in my beans, but some people don't like onion, that's up to you. But you're gonna put in a tablespoon of salt, a chopped onion, a 1/2 to 3/4 cup of ketchup, and the same of brown sugar, 2 teaspoons of dry molasses, and 2 to 4 tablespoons, or 2 teaspoons of dry mustard, and 2 to 4 tablespoons of molasses. And that is what I pretty much go by. You can vary that. Some people don't want the corn syrup, that's in the ketchup. You could use some tomato sauce instead.
there is at Walmart, they
And
now
there are
have
some ketchups without the corn
I
syrup.
think it's Heinz even,
So-
they have them right now.
Mine's Simply Ketchup. It has the name Simple.
Sure.
Yeah,
Simply.
Or
and
if
it
you don't-
has sugar instead of the corn, yeah.
Or if you don't want to use the ketchup, you can use tomato sauce, but then you're probably going to want to up the sugar a little bit. Or you can experiment too and replace some of that sugar with maple syrup. Okay, then after I stir that up good, then I'll just cook it on low for another 1 to 3 hours, or I could sit on low or warm until you're ready to use it at some point. Okay, so then on the bottom here, I just put how I do my refried beans, same way in the same crock pot. You just don't put in the tomato and the sugar, you use just the onion and the salt. Mash them up with a potato masher when they're done, or an electric mixer, and you'll have nice
Oh, that's easy.
refried beans. Also put on here, you might want to put in up to 1/2 cup of coconut oil, just to make a smoother bean and add that healthy fat. And then the last recipe is the chili beans, and you can go through and see what that, ingredients for that, and vary it to your taste. One other note I put on here is that you can also add green pepper to that if you like that taste. And all 3 of these bean recipes will freeze really, really well. So you can make a big, what you think is a big batch, and just put it into containers and mark them, put it in your freezer, and you've got quick food from the freezer.
And when Jana brings these to potluck, they're a hit, everybody wants to have the recipe.
I know, I get in trouble, I come home and Joan is upset because there's no leftovers. They always go. So that's how I do my beans. Yep.
One comment, two things. The biggest thing, what took us so long is to learn how to cook beans was A, either not soaking them long enough. It's very important to have several hours of soak, and or again, not cooking them long enough, but you also want to make sure you don't add the tomato or anything like that before they're well cooked.
Right, that's a good point, because once you add that tomato,
They'll take forever.
they will not cook or soften any longer. So you want them fully cooked before you add anything tomato.
Or salt.
Even
And
the
the
salt.
salt also.
Because they're
And
hardening
okay,
agents.
on the back of the sheet, it tells about that. So this is all bean
That's right.
hints, information, how to do beans. So read through that.
The one thing they say when you're soaking it, if you have any problems with digesting legumes, okay, so you start soaking the beans, then pour the water off and add new, and pour it off and add new, it'll kind of take the gases out, and it'll help with digestion. I remember that.
Yep, use new
Yeah.
water for the cooking.
And Susan's gonna show smoothies, but one thing I wanted to just mention is, just because you go gluten-free doesn't mean you're eating healthier. If you eat a lot of the processed gluten-free stuff, you're not eating healthier, and it's gonna be way more expensive. I mean, gluten-free products are way more expensive. But if you're willing to eat simple and do like the beans and things like that, you can actually eat cheaper, because you can buy some of these things in bulk, and a little amount of quinoa cooks up to be a lot, and so do beans and like that. So you can actually live cheaper if you go back to the basics and eat simple. Yes, that's an important.
And some of the other recipes in your packet, you're going to see cashew pimento cheese. If you want to stay away from dairy, there's a cheese option there that's very good. There's also the soy sauce substitute, what my wife makes for me and my son, because we can't have soy. That's in there as well. And then there's a basic dressing. Is that what we're having today? No, we're not
I
having.
think they did make.
We do have the basic dressing, the lemon juice and olive oil with the pinch of salt and herbs is going to be over there for you to
Yeah.
sample on your salad if you'd like.
I don't know if you like a lot of things on your salads, but you can do this basic, or you can just put lemon juice on your salad. A lot of people do that for a healthy option. With this, you just add a pinch of salt and sugar, and if you want to, you can start adding some herbs to it. And that's a good basic one.
And because we've had all this great food, everybody wants something a little sweet. So Susan is going to show us what we're going to be having today for our dessert, and that's the vegan dreamsicle, which is on the bottom there. So do you need a microphone though? Do you have one?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe for yours.
I'm stuck to the mic.
The inspiration for this is I got a big box of oranges from the FFA, and I had to use them all up. And I had a bunch of grapefruit too, and Will wasn't there, so I had to eat them all by myself. So I decided to use up a whole bunch of oranges. And this recipe, if you have 2 oranges, if you eat 2 oranges for breakfast, just use 2 oranges, because just like every smoothie, you start with some apple, and then you throw in a banana, and you go, so syrupy all week. But anyways, so we'll take, what I do is I peel the oranges, and I just make a whole night out of it, and the night before, and then section them, and then they put them on a tray, and and they're frozen. I like doing that because if you don't have to add ice cubes, then it doesn't get watered down. It stays a lot more rich flavored, and Will loves orange dreamsicles.
So we're having something sweet, but we're still getting the fiber, because the oranges
Absolutely.
have the fiber.
In fact, there's no added sugar, it's very easy ingredient. The
Yeah.
only,
And the Lord intended us to eat the fruit in total, not just the juice. Because we get in trouble just drinking orange juice or whatever. We're supposed to eat the entire plant with the fiber and the juice all together. They're very perfectly balanced that way. All the fruit and all the vegetables are balanced so that we can eat them without throwing things out of whack for us. So it's nice that you're doing it that way.
I've heard it say this way, that the sugar is the poison and the fiber is the antidote. Keeps it.
Amen. That's very good. Yep.
Okay, then to give it that dreamsicle flavor, I bought they are pre-sweetened, but I bought the coconut milk and I bought some vanilla almond milk. They're both vanilla flavored. And then just to give it an extra 1-2 punch, there's regular vanilla. Now, I recommend, make sure you get vanilla without alcohol. If you've ever had a tincture or something like that, when you cook with an alcoholic vanilla, the alcohol cooks out, so you don't taste the alcohol. But when you put it in here and you drink it, it gives you a punch. So, alcohol-free. With this one, this is just orange. I know some with grapefruit, it's like mushrooms. You either love them or you hate them. So I'll do this.
Beautiful, look at the grapefruit here.
I completely skin them because my dad uses, with the blender this nice, you can leave the white stuff on it and it'll blend right off. But if you get a cheaper blender, I would, yeah, this is a Vitamix. If you have a cheaper blender, I take up as much white stuff as possible. Otherwise, you'll be eating it. Okay. I just add enough milk to kind of cover it. Again, if you have a cheaper blender, more milk. With a nice Vitamix, less milk. It'll blend very, very well. Okay, and then in the morning, if I have to go to work and I still want to down a whole bunch of oranges, I'll make up some flaxseed, flax it up, and then I do it in a separate container, like what she had up here, the coffee grinder, and then I'll add the meal, the flaxseed meal, to the smoothie. If you just add the whole flax seeds right to your smoothie, it'll just mix it, and you'll still have whole flaxseed. So add the meal, and then blend. Okay, so now I'm going to put the vanilla in. I'm going to hold that.
Susan,
Yeah.
you can put the flaxseed in first and grind it, and then add your.
Right, but it has to be dry. If you put it in with liquid, it's not going to
Yeah,
grind.
that's why you put it in first while it's dry, you grind it, and then you can add your other stuff.
Then with vanilla, just enough to your liking. This thing's pretty loud. Okay, yeah. Alright. I love this. I love the Vitamix because it's got a plunger too. It's so much safer because it's already a pre-measured plunger. If you use a spoon, oh, you get pulpwood blender smoothies. Woo. Okay. That a little bit longer, and I'll have two smoothies up there, one with the orange and one with the grapefruit. So the one that looks a little pinker will have grapefruit in it. I'm pretty much done. Okay.
So that was easy.
That was very easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you still ready to go? You're good? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, that's fantastic. So those are just demonstrations. Now we're going to get prepared to have our meal. We're going to go through, I think we're going to break by table. So we're going to, those of you who are bold enough to sit in the front, get to eat first. Yeah, there's a reward for being in the front row here. I will release you by row, and you can just pass through the buffet back there, I guess I'll call it, and pick up your plate and come back and sit down and enjoy. I think there's baked potato along with salad and everything else. Some of the different things, you'll see the oatmeal patties will be there. I believe the brown gravy is over the top of those.
Okay.
Correct?
They might have to wait a few minutes, it looks like they're going back.
Yep, and we've got a few things to take care of yet, so I'm just whetting your appetite for that. So we're going to do that, but we do have a drawing. Some of did you all register? Because I don't want to leave anybody out. Okay. Valerie's going to draw one name here, and then well, two names actually. They're not really shaking up well because it's full.
I'll
So,
mix around them.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to give away a couple of cookbooks.
Let's see. Jeremiah, could you grab some of the cookbooks or? Okay.
Now,